Welcome to our daily Forex market analysis call, and this is in preparation for trading on September 6th, 2018. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started here. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. As usual, we'll start off by taking a look at our economic calendar here. So in terms of our data here, we had positive numbers for PMI. Most important thing here was Bank of Canada rate statement, and they did not change rates. So essentially the commentary was in line with what we were expecting. They talked about NAFTA agreements, they talked about concerns about trade and that type of stuff. So at this point, Bank of Canada is not looking to raise rates. So that was Bank of Canada. And then coming up, we have trade balance numbers for Australia, which will have an impact on Australian dollar because Australia is also an export-focused economy. So trade balance numbers become very important. And tomorrow. Now, this week we are in our non-farm payrolls week. So usually prior to the non-farm payroll, which happens on Friday, Thursdays, we get this ADP non-farm employment numbers. Again, these will have an impact on US dollar, but generally it's the non-farm payroll stuff that comes out on Friday that has bigger impact. But again, these ADP numbers are kind of the precursors to the non-farm payroll. That's why these are important. ISM non-manufacturing PMI numbers. PMI numbers are leading indicators for retail sales, so these numbers are important. And we have crude oil inventories. There were a lot of comments out of OPEC today. So crude oil inventories are important here as well. And then we have Reserve Bank of New Zealand Governor Orr speaking. So those are the few important news that's coming up tomorrow. So let's go on to the charts now. We'll start with Euro US dollar as usual. So so today we have a bullish engulfing candle close here. Now, just to sort of provide some background here with the Euro US dollar, we came into the support level and we had talked about how we were looking for price to come and test this level once again, and then it had to break below this level for it to continue, which it did not do, or our secondary scenario was that it was going to go higher if it didn't do that, which it has done. So we were into support level there, and we had talked about how I was concerned about this big pin in the bottom, and that's why we were looking for a retest and a move to the upside. But another thing that caused a move higher in Euro US dollar today was also news in regards to Brexit. There was news that came out. There was comment in the Squawk audio news feed, and it was also on Forex Factory. And basically, it was Bloomberg saying that Germany and UK, so they were looking to drop a few key things that are preventing the Brexit agreement to be reached, and as a result of that, Eurozone is closer and UK are closer to the Brexit agreement. As a result of that, we saw Eurodollar push up, and we also saw pound push up across the board. So any kind of Brexit news will create moves like that. However, right now we are still in that low liquidity environment, and as a result of that, it tends to be exaggerated. These moves tend to be exaggerated. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come to the pound, but in regards to the Euro US dollar here, we have bullish candle close, we have bullish volume come in here, so this one could go up higher. And if you take a look at it, price has kind of been trading in this range for some time now. It did break down, now it's back in this range once again, so we could see price going higher. But we are into resistance here as well, so just be mindful of that. It's not as important a support resistance level as this one, but it is a resistance here. So we do need to see a clear of 1.0 1650 level, but overall we have a bullish engulfing candle close and biases to the upside. The target would be 1.1720 level to the upside, so bullish for euro dollar. But just from our resistance perspective, one thing that I would keep in mind is if price is not able to break above this level here, see this support resistance level coming all the way from there. If it does not break above this level, it could turn around and come to the downside. So that will be the only caution that I would keep in mind. Otherwise, overall bias is to the upside for euro dollar. Going into pound dollar here, this is where we saw this huge push to the upside as a result of the news that came out. And it was 155 pips approximately, the move to the upside, and part of it got filled, and we could see the rest of it get filled. So it created this inefficient move, kind of like this. This was also Brexit news that came out a few days ago. And as we can see, as the news gets diluted or it doesn't matter as much, price tends to revert back to where it was. So this inefficient move here got filled. So this one could get filled here as well, but it could go and do a retest of the high. So that's the only thing I would be concerned about with pound dollar here. And another thing to sort of keep in mind is the move to the downside came when the confirmation or non-confirmation of the news came out. Basically, they have not gotten away from any key points. So as a result of that, there's no Brexit deal, or they're not closer to Brexit deal because they're not really giving up those key points. So as a result of that news coming up, we saw the unwinding of this initial move. So from daily perspective here, we have a big indecision candle. We saw price go all the way into this previous support resistance level. There is bullishness in the candle, so that's why I think we could see a retest of either the high at 1.2980 or into this support resistance level at 1.2950. With the pound at this point, there is bullishness, so we just have to be careful with this one. The gap here, or the inefficient move here is not completely filled yet. We still have this room left here. But what can happen, see how price started to come back here and then pushes up higher. So I think this one has the room to go up higher before it drops. So that's why we have to keep that in mind. This gap here is filled now by this candle. So there was a big gap to the downside when the market opened. This one is filled, and by this candle to the upside now. So now we are kind of starting new again. So in this case, one of the moves that I would look for is either this, so 1.2950, or into the high here. So price goes all the way to test this high and does not close above this high. Then that would be a good double top type of opportunity. So we just have to, but do watch out for any comments coming out, because especially this week, we are still in the low liquidity environment because of the long weekend and so forth. So the moves can be more exaggerated as a result of that. So I would look for three pullback levels. So that's the third pullback level I would look for. If the price does not make all the way to the top there, we could get this shallow pullback as well. But this is the one that I like the most, 1.2950. The perfect one would be 1.2980, but I like the 1.2950 right over here. Really, so that would be my favorite one, but we could get a shallow one or a deeper one. So keep an eye out for both of those. But overall, this is bullish to neutral in terms of our bias. All right, so moving on to Aussie dollar here. Aussie is into our support from all the way back here, and we talked about how this was a support that we have not seen since May of 2016, so a couple of years ago. So we are at 2-year low here. So when we come into these important support resistance levels, price does tend to have problems with it. As we can see, price came into this level yesterday. We were looking for a drop. We got a drop, and then it pushed back all the way into this resistance level here. So for Aussie here as well, this is bullish to neutral here. We do have pins on both sides, and there is bullishness in this candle here as well. So going down to our 1-hour chart here. Now this one, there are a couple of things that I would watch out for because it's at such an important support and resistance level here. It has bounced off of this. So I would look for a retest of this 0.7230 level, retest of this previous support resistance level. Now, if price goes above that, so my bias is bullish to neutral. I'm looking for price to go into this high. If it does this, then chances are it will come back, right? So we could see price go into the bottom here and come and retest the bottom. But the second scenario is that price breaks through, pulls back, and then we're looking for a long entry and price could move up higher. So we talked about this yesterday, where right now price is into important support resistance levels. And as a result of that, we have to be careful with the trades that we take because things can change. So bias here is bullish to neutral. I'm looking for price to go into this 0.7230 level here. If it stays below, then I'm looking for price to basically come back into this range that it has been forming here over the last few days. Otherwise, we could start seeing price go higher. And in that case, we could see it go all the way into this support resistance level at 0.7310. New Zealand dollar here, this one here as well. So we had a nice drop yesterday, and I was looking for price to break down. And we had talked about how if it pulls back again, chances are it's going to reverse, which it did that. And now from our daily perspective, this looks bullish. Now we have a double bottom type of scenario here. So I'm looking for price to go higher here. And the target here would be 66.20 level to the upside. That will be the first target. And we could go all the way into 66.50 level. So bias is to the upside for New Zealand dollar. And New Zealand dollar is again at lows from all the way from February of 2016. So we are coming into these important support levels. So I'm looking for pullback from those levels here. Bank of Canada, so dollar CAD, we were waiting for Bank of Canada rate decision. Bank of Canada basically decided not to raise rates, which was in line with market expectations there. So today's candle close looks very neutral here. But because it's not going higher, I think we could get a pullback here. So I'm looking for price to pull back down into this 1.3120 level to the downside. So bias is overall bullish here, but I'm looking for a pullback here and potentially that type of a move. So right now for the immediate future here for tomorrow, the bias is to the downside, looking for a pullback into 1.3120 level and potentially lower into the base of this candle at 1.3085 level. So if Aussie dollar and New Zealand dollar are moving higher, usually dollar CAD tends to drop. So they work in the opposite direction. So bias here is to the downside, and I'm looking for a pullback. Euro pound, this was another one that was impacted by that comment that came out in regards to the Brexit. And as we can see, big pin here or large pins to both sides. This is very neutral. It's trading in this range, went and tested the high and then dropped from there. So in this case, the inefficient move is sort of filled already. So if you take a look here, this was just a 5-minute candle, quick drop to the downside, and then price came and basically reversed the direction when the comments came out that it was not true, that they had decided to give up on those agreements. All right, so as a result of that, from daily perspective, the bias is very neutral. In this case, if price stays below this 0.9020 level, I think this one could drop and come back and test the low, but there is a chance that it could go higher as well. So bias is neutral, not my favorite one to trade at this point. Euro Swiss franc, here yesterday we were bullish and we have a bullish move here, so still looking bullish. We do need to see a break of 1.3120 level though, but overall bias is to the upside. Next target is 1.1350 level to the upside. So bullish bias for Euro Swiss franc. Pound Swiss franc, again with the news, pound got impacted across the board, but we do have bullishness in this candle. So the bias is bullish to neutral. So in this case, we could see price go and test the high of the pin. So looking for 1.2620 level to the upside. Dollar Swiss franc here. US dollar has seen a bit of a reversal. We'll take a look at the dollar index in a little bit here. But overall, this looks bearish here. So we saw drop, pull back, looking for another drop here. 0.9650 will be the target to the downside. So bias is bearish for dollar Swiss franc. Pound yen, again, we have a large move here all the way to the upside, and from there price dropped. So in this case, a very similar move. See, we had an inefficient move here that got filled, another inefficient move here, and now it has not been filled completely. The best trade here, in my opinion, would be if we get a retest of the high, which is also our R1 level for pivot point, give us a double top right into the R1, and if it stays below, take an entry to the downside. So that's the kind of move I would be looking for, but again, we need to wait for this to develop. So patience is the key here, but there is bullishness in this candle, and as we can see, price came into the support level here and bounced off of that. So I'm looking for a retest of a 144.95, so about 145 level, and then looking for price to hold below that level for it to drop from there. So bias right now is bullish. Euro yen, this one, euro got pushed by that news as well, and this was an inefficient move, has not gotten filled yet, but we do have a big bullish candle close. This one though, we did have a bullish pin bar yesterday, and we were looking for a pullback, or I was looking for a pullback into this level. So generally when there's a pin and there's another pin on the left-hand side, price tends to pull back into that level before it moves up higher. So we have a big bullish candle close, looks bullish at the moment. So looking for price to move higher. Next target would be 130.38 level there. So bias is bullish for Euro yen here. Dollar yen, we have a bit of a pin bar here. Price tried to go test the high here, and we see a drop. So in this case, and we are seeing a bit of a turnaround in all the US dollar crosses. So this is the type of move I would like to see here. Bias is bearish, but because there is bullishness in this candle, it could go test the high once again. So 111.80 level would be a good level to look for price to go to, and then looking for price to basically stay below this resistance level. So again, the move here would be one of these, or it could just be basically on the other side here, price goes up and does one of these. Overall bias is to the downside, but look for a bit of a pullback. Aussie yen here, this one is going sideways at the moment. We have pins on both sides. There is bullishness here. So I would look for a retest of this 80.50 level. And if price holds above that level, then I'm looking for price to go back into the next level of support or resistance at 81.80. But what I would look out for is price goes into the resistance and then comes back down. So right now this is range bound, and as per range bound trading, looking for price to bounce off of the high there. So bias for this one is neutral. New Zealand yen. So this one here, similar type of scenario as we saw with New Zealand dollar. Price dropped, went sideways, could not continue to the downside, tested the bottom several times here, and then we are seeing it go into this level. So that looks like a double bottom, and looks like it's pushing higher. We have a bullish candle close here, bullish engulfing candle close. So I would look for price to go up higher now. The next level to target would be 74.12, which is back into this previous support resistance level. Now we do have to make sure that price does go to the other side of the 73.50 level and holds on the other side, because otherwise it could start to go sideways here. But it does look bullish, so we could go into the next target. That would be 74.12. CAD yen here, this one is not looking as bullish. We have pin on the top here, so we could see the price go up and test that level. Bias here stays sideways to bearish, so this is the type of move that I'm looking for. CAD yen, a potential retest of the high of today's candle and then a drop from there. So bias is neutral to bearish for CAD yen. EURCAD looks like I was marking up the charts here for our 10,000 trades. So I'm going to skip this, but overall bias here is to the upside, and the next target, or I won't skip it, we'll just go through it real quick. Next target is 1.5376 level. And if I could get rid of that there. So this is the target here, 1.5380 level basically. So bias is bullish for EURCAD. Pound CAD, again, we have another move to the upside, inefficient move here, big, huge move. Now we are into resistance here. So again, I think we could see a retest of this level. And if we do see a retest, I would look for the high and look for a potential reversal into the high. So right now we are sort of into those market conditions where we could see prices turning around. So we just have to be extra vigilant in regards to that. So basically looking for a retest of the high at 1.7100. And if it stays below that level, looking for price to drop back down and potentially into our S1 level, which is 1.6870. So just looking for that gap to get, or inefficient move to get filled. Euro Aussie here, this one looks bullish. We are into resistance and we have been stuck at this resistance for a number of days here. And if I were to draw a support level here, it's starting to look like a sideways move, but overall we are still bullish. Volume is still bullish. So with this one, again, we have to see, can it break the high? It has not been able to break the high for some time. And if it does not break the high, I'm looking for price to come back into this range here. So we are into resistance. And if it does not break to the top side there, I think it could come back and we could potentially see it come back into this S1 level, or at least back into these levels here. So we'll keep an eye. Overall, bias is still bullish, but into resistance. If it blows through the resistance of our next target is 1.6260 level to the upside. Pound Aussie, again, pretty useless setup here. We have two pins and small candle body, indecision candle, not the best one. But if it does go into the high, I would look for a shorting opportunity, or at least into 1.8050 level, we could get a potential shorting opportunity there as well. So we just need to sort of keep an eye at these levels, and 1.8030 is another one. Price goes into that level and it could drop from there. But overall, right now, it's just sideways. Pound New Zealand, this one, a big move here. and we went right into the high. This could have been a good opportunity, and I did not take it because I was not looking for it. But that looked like a good one because that's solid resistance there, and price has a price just dropped right off of there. So there could have been a good opportunity right into our R2 level as well. Okay, so with this one, this looks more bearish. So we have bearishness in this candle. Generally, what I would look for, and that move seems to be happening right now, is I would look for price to pull back and then drop here. So that's the scenario I'm looking at, potential pullback into 1.9620 level, and then a drop from there. So bias is bearish, looking for 1.9450 level. So pound New Zealand. Euro New Zealand here. This one looks bearish as well. Next target here would be 1.7580 level. And there is news. Let me just go check again here. Reserve Bank of New Zealand governor is speaking tomorrow, so not tonight. So if we were to just go back here, just want to make sure if there's can't remember. No, Australian news. Australian news sometimes will have an impact on this as well, but overall that's a nice bearish pin bar, and looks like we have a bit of a retest here. So 75.80 will be the target to the downside. So this is bearish as well, Euro New Zealand. Okay. All right, so the next one we'll take a look at gold, and let's see what we have here. This one seems to be going sideways, hasn't really done a whole lot. It's just sideways at the moment. We have bullishness in here, but this one could drop as well. So this could just be a drop, pull back, drop. But right now, it's just sideways, so not the best trade setup in that sense. So let's go into oil. Yesterday, we saw a big pin bar, nice big bearish candle close as a result of that. Now looking for a further drop that's bearish, 67.71 or potentially into 67.30. We do have crude oil inventories coming up, which will have an impact on this. So watch out for that. But overall, bias is bearish for oil. And last one here, we'll take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin, big drop here from our previous level. The candles were looking quite small. Bearish engulfing candle close, so this looks bearish. Next target would be 66.70 level to the downside. So Bitcoin, bearish. Oh, there was some news on Bloomberg on Bitcoin. Okay, so I have not really been tracking Bitcoin closely. So usually when there's news, that will have an impact. So it looks like we still have momentum to the downside, and 66.70 would be my target to the downside for Bitcoin. Now let's see if we can take a quick peek at dollar index here. Dollar index looks bearish. Yeah, so that looks quite bearish. Yesterday we were talking about here. So this was exactly kind of the opposite of the setup, and we talked about that yesterday as we saw in euro. So see, this is where I really like this pin-to-pin test, where price goes into test the pin and then drops from there. So this is looking bearish here. We have tweezer top trade set up here. So basically looking for price to drop. Dollar index is looking weak. 95.10 will be the next target to the downside. So bearish bias for dollar index. So our dollar crosses are likely to go higher as a result of that as well. Any questions before we wrap it up? So tomorrow we'll be trading the London session once again, so 3 a.m. Eastern. And let me see here. Yeah, so we're back at 3 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. So I'll see you guys then. Bye for now.